It is inevitable that all of these technologies will win. So that's the last part of the quote, right? It's, then they fight you, then you win. But my one lesson is, look, if you're in the crypto space, you already won. We've already won.
Yes.
It may take us a while to
early adopters.
Recognize that we've won, but we've already won. Because this is inevitable. This is going to happen.
Can't stop.
Every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, everything will be tokenized. Every unit of value in the world will transfer on blockchains. It's not maybe that's going to happen. It's not, it might happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool. We live in a friction economy.
Yes.
Right? And middle people, they exist on friction. And what we're trying to do is eliminate that friction. If I had a mother-in-law in El Salvador, which I don't, she's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But if I had a mother-in-law in El Salvador and I wanted to send her $1, she would get 70 pesos. So it's even worse, 30%.
Crazy.
And like, well, why is that? Well, it's because Western Union takes 12%, and then the local banks take a percentage. And then you got this Bank of International Settlements problem that the Rothschilds, because the Rothschilds are in control of everything, and they have been, since 1607, they have a treaty. This is amazing. It still blows my mind. There's a treaty. It's 400 years old. 400 years old that says any money that moves cross-border to banks, of which they own parts of both, have to get paid.
Yep.
There are investors. Investors buy things when they believe they are selling below fair value. That's a good idea. That seems like a good plan. Then there are traders that don't really care about fair value. They don't really care about up and down. They just want to scalp pieces. Really hard to do. Some people are good at it. I am not. That's not my jam. But that's fine. And those traders are fine, right? They provide liquidity. They keep markets kind of rational. Speculators, it's one of those words that's highly charged. They're good too, because all they are is the opposite side of hedgers. Right? Let's say you're a Bitcoin miner and you need to pay for your electricity. So you mine some Bitcoin and then you sell, and you could sell it outright, or you could sell in the futures market now that we have futures. And this is the part that I don't love, right? We have these futures markets that not only allow hedgers to sell, but they allow anyone to sell paper. I don't actually think they're trying to hinder innovation. I actually don't, right? I think they're trying to slow adoption, which is what regulation has done for centuries. I mean, you think about, if you're an incumbent, okay, what happens? You start something, you grow, you become popular, you become dominant, and then what happens? Competition, right? Either because someone innovates in terms of technology, or somebody innovates on a business model, and you get competition. And if you're the incumbent, what do? You go to your friendly regulator and say, okay, here's some money, create a regulation to stop them. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Yeah. And it applies to crypto, right? Yeah. So from 2009 to 2015, first they ignore you. Yeah, bunch of nerds and geeks with your magic internet money, whatever, go away. Not even interesting. Then they laugh at you. So 2016 to 21, bunch of nerds and geeks and just idiots. Okay, then they fight you. And that's where we are today. 2022 to 2027, we are in the then they fight you phase. And it's going to be a bitch. It is inevitable that all of these technologies will win. So that's the last part of the quote, right? It's, then they fight you, then you win. But my one lesson is, look, if you're in the crypto space, you already won. We've already won.
Yes.
It may take us a while to
early adopters.
Recognize that we've won, but we've already won. Because this is inevitable. This is going to happen.
Can't stop.
Every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, everything will be tokenized. Every unit of value in the world will transfer on blockchains. It's not maybe that's going to happen. It's not, it might happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool. Like, you take this deplatforming idea, right? Kanye says something, and look, I'm a pretty big free speech guy.
Yeah.
I may not like what he said. I may not agree with what he said, but I think he has a right to say it. Right. And I don't believe. No, I would say I don't believe that he should be deplatformed for that. But I also believe it's a private company, right? A bank is a private company. They can choose who their customers. Now, seems to me, again, that's a really bad way to choose because you disagree with somebody. It's like what's happening on the social media. The last thing JP Morgan needs is a run on the bank. Right. Because they're already over-levered. They've already got, they've got to increase their reserves for bad debts because we're in a, recession. And so there's going to be people that don't pay back their loans. Yep. Now, are they big enough to handle it because they're making money spoofing gold?
Of course.
Yes. Or doing, money laundering. It's like, I think I have this number right. Everyone's like, oh, crypto is used for money laundering. I'm like, really? Let me give you this stat. The banks, the big banks, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan, have paid right, fines equal to $360 billion.
Jesus Christ.
For money laundering. Like admitted money laundering, like, drug cartels and all kinds of bad stuff.
Jesus.
That's what they've actually been convicted of and paid. My favorite point, though, is they never have to admit guilt.
Right.
Or pay $2 billion. The thing about regulation, it's literally like squeezing air in a balloon, right? You grab the balloon, the air doesn't leave. It just goes someplace else. So China banned Bitcoin. And what did the exchanges do? They banned exchanges. What did the exchanges do? They picked up and moved to South Korea and Japan. They banned mining. So what did the miners do? They picked up, most of them, still like 20% of the mining still done in China. You all seen that picture of the guy with the miners on his back?
Yeah.
It's amazing. People are resourceful. But the bottom line is if America chooses, I will call it the wrong path, which is the path of resistance as opposed to the path of embracing, then the rest of the world will just have a greater role. Now, look, I don't want to move right now. I mean, I like living in North Carolina. I like my life. But look, if suddenly you ban the things that allow me to preserve my wealth, I mean, think about this. If all my wealth was in dollars, I got 8.3% less rich in the last 12 months. The fact that I don't have all my money in fiat, that should be my choice. And the fact that decentralization is here and it's been created because of the flaws in the system, right? I talked about this on. It is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday is 4/5/75, right? 4/5 was the day of Executive Order 6102, where they banned gold in 1933, made it illegal for a citizen to own gold. And 1975 was the year they reversed that. So it's not a coincidence. And then my friend Lisa Huff, her daughter has this really cool thing where she said, 6102, wait, 21 and 6 zeros. That's 21 million. That's why we have 21 million Bitcoin.
Oh, wow. Boom.
Mind blown. Because I'm like, where did that number come from? That's pretty cool. And she's like 17 years old. She's amazing. It's not like Bitcoin was created in 3 weeks. It had been worked on for years, and it was released intentionally. Decentralization was released intentionally at a time where you had a rallying cry against the badness, right? Why did bankers serve no jail time? Right? They did the whole subprime nonsense, created the global financial crisis, not 1 minute of jail time. Right? Martha Stewart went to jail, for God's sake, for $250,000.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, come on. And who caused more harm? Right? The banksters?
No question.
Martha. I probably still lean at this point toward Bitcoin being that base layer. But I am compelled by, what you talk about and what others talk about in terms of how others are looking at the world. Now, I look at Hedera. Everyone talks about, oh, it's so great, it's so fast. I'm like, yeah, but. So that's one where I'm like, I don't really see it. And now we got the whole Ethereum where they moved to proof of stake. I'm like, yeah, but proof of stake, the challenge with that to me as a proof of work guy is proof of stake is not that different from what we're trying to move away from, which is
Right.
the gold makes the rules.
Right.
So I struggle with that a little bit. But the bottom line is, if we're trying to change the rails of the global financial system, right? If that's what we're trying to do, then getting audiences with the global financial system is really important. Are we going to have a stack, right? Where I could argue Bitcoin is the base layer, like TCP/IP, and everything should settle to that base layer. Filecoin sits on top of it. Could be something in the middle that's SMTP, HTTP. I don't really know. And then maybe Ethereum is on top. But that's only one potential outcome. There's another outcome that says we have a whole bunch of parallel stacks. And then we bridge across the different ones.
Correct.
And one of those could be XRP, and one could be Bitcoin, and one could be Ethereum. That's as likely, maybe. And then there's the one that the maxis talk about, which is, nope, everything's going to be on Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin, there's Lightning, and then we'll have L3s and 4s. Maybe, but show me the development. I don't see the development of those 3s and 4s yet that makes me compelled that that's, it's all going to be on Bitcoin. Right now, that money needs to get invested, whether it's the Norge pension fund in Norway, or whether it's, the Middle Eastern, UAE, Abu Dhabi, Ada. They have multiple trillions of dollars, and it's going to eventually find its way into this space, but it's got to be regulatory compliant.
Yeah.
Which again would argue that what the XRP people are working on to try to be regulatorily compliant and things like Bitstamp licenses and et cetera, all of that does make some sense, because once the spigot gets turned on, it's not going the other way. It's just not going the other way.